3, go.
Before we start, we want to thank you so much for taking time in your schedule to meet with us. I'm excited to hear your story and how you got to where you are today, but we wanted to tell you a little bit about ourselves so that you know where we are coming from. The things that we are most interested in now are nursing, animals, and music, but we're not sure how to connect those to what we want to do in life. For us, right now, in our lives, the biggest question that we're trying to answer is, how do we find joy in our everyday jobs? So I'm hoping that you have some wisdom and experience that we can apply to our lives. So to begin, where were you at our age?
Well, that would be 16, and I was in high school. I had an idea that I wanted to be a nurse. I was sick a few years before that, and I was in the hospital a few days, and I had some really nice nurses, and that piqued my curiosity, even though at the time of 16 I was just focusing on my schooling.
And how long did it take you to become where you are now?
Well, straight out of high school, I worked for the mortgage business, and I was a loan funder, escrow officer. But then I went back in my early 20s back to school, and I first started out with my associates in nursing, and then a few years later I got my bachelor's. Then I just continued to work as a nurse. I moved out of state for a few years, worked as a nurse there, came back, got into management, got into education, and then realized I was putting in so much time under a salary that I thought, you know, I just want to take it easy, clock in, clock out, and just go to work every day. I do patient care. I find great enjoyment and fulfillment with that quality of work that I do. I do a lot of teaching with my patients since my specialty is cardiac. And there's a lot of preventative information on cardiac, also a lot of maintenance information that's important. I also specialize in stroke.
Okay, and what was your biggest sacrifice that you had to give up for this job?
For this job, I probably had no sacrifice. I actually, I guess working is a sacrifice in a sense. You don't get to stay home and watch movies all day, or go to the beach when you want. Yeah. So that's but there's fulfillment in working. My sacrifice is my experience. I've been a nurse for over 20 years. So probably my sacrifice would have been my management when I was in management. A lot of overtime, a lot of on-calls at night, but the fulfillment of my team and the nurses that I worked with. I have great friendships. I've learned a lot on human behavior, a lot of acceptance. And I guess what I really learned a lot is that everybody has a gift. It's just where their gift applies. Some people are really good with patients' families. Some are better off not with patients' families. But if, you stop breathing, you want them right there because they're the best one that can take care of it. So what I have learned is that there are a lot of gifts that people have to offer. It's just finding, getting the right person on the right bus. And fortunately, I've been able to do that in my career by doing many things. And now, at the point that I'm able to pick my schedule, work just my 3 days a week, go on vacation all the time, and I make enough money, and I've prepared financially with my years of working and living, frugally, that I don't have to work, more than my 36 hours a week. And my job is very fulfilling. Not financially it's great, but also my patients are very appreciative. The families are. I'm sure you have your hard times where, families are very, they're under stress. It's the worst time of their lives sometimes when their family members are sick. So you have to learn how to listen and actually sometimes just, allow them to vent with you, allow them to be angry with you, because that, they're not in a good spot and maybe their coping isn't as, well adjusted, or it's just too much for them at the time. So there's a lot of learning in nursing, and I'm very fortunate that I have so much experience under my belt that I can embrace it, and the stress and struggle is over. The first year I thought I was going to kill somebody. I wanted to leave. I remember one night being at work thinking, what am I doing? Oh my gosh, I'm going to kill somebody. I can't do this. I can't do this. But you know what? I got up the next day, I went to work, and I kept doing it. And after about a year, I started feeling a little comfortable. Each year it got easier and easier. And, I think that's what's made me the nurse that I am today.
Okay, what was your biggest fear while trying to get this job?
My biggest fear? Well, probably my age. I'm now in my late 40s, going to be 50, and keeping up with the younger girls. But I have no problem. I keep right up with them. And if anything, it's great because it keeps me in shape. It keeps me active. Probably my biggest fear now is getting the days off that I want, so.
Yeah. Did you have to take any risks to get this job? No. Okay,
Yes, I did have to take some risks to get this job. The risks I took was I was in the mortgage business, and I was doing very well there, but I wanted something that, the market goes up and down. And so when I went into nursing, I knew that would be, a job that would be very stable, high demand, not to mention great satisfaction from helping others and then being so appreciative. Did you ask this one?
Okay, does this job make you happy? Like, do you enjoy getting up every day and going to this job?
I don't enjoy every day, because I get tired. If I have a really heavy list, or if I have a patient who is really sick and I just ran around all day, had a hard time getting a hold of doctors, medications weren't showing up on time, the patient, and then not to mention I have more than one. And, if I have a really hard day, it's hard the next day. I'm tired. And I ran all day emotionally, physically. But generally, I have to say I really enjoy nursing. I do.
What question do you want to? Oh, okay. Did you change your career at one point?
I did. I was in the mortgage business, and I changed it at a very young age, in my early 20s, and decided to go back to school, which I'm very grateful for. I know if I ever got tired of nursing, I could always go do something else. And also that prepared me for my financial decisions in the end. Also, I changed my career. I was a floor nurse. Then I became a educator where I taught nurses and trained nurses. Then I went into management. After education, then they needed someone for a manager's. So I was offered the position. I took it. And then it was just so much, it took so much of my time. And, when you're in management, you got to realize you have to answer to others. And it's hard to be that middle ground. I mean, it was nice and I learned a lot, but I'm glad I'm at the bedside now. I'm part of the team. I get to clock in, clock out, go home. And I'm at a point in my life where I'm not so ambitious to where, I'm happy with where I'm at.
Okay, after everything we talked about, is there one piece of evidence that you'd give to us about what it takes to define your own road?
I would say probably to define your own road, I would say complete what you start. Complete what you start. You're going to go through a lot of things and you're going to try things, and and you're going to want to stop, it's going to get hard or you're going to have a bad day. But what I found is there's many times I wanted to stop, and I could have very easily, but I just kept going forward, and I'm grateful I did. And that's probably the best advice I can give you is don't give up, because it gets better. It truly does.